Welcome, everyone. And we need to come into the room. So we're going to take some breaths so we can become centered because there is so much information they have put together for you. And we want to be sure that you receive it. A big breath. Now let it go. Slowly sink into your body. Okay. One more big breath. Now, really slow. You want to be present, not running like usual. Another. Slowly let it go. And we are ready to begin. We are so pleased you're here. And as we say to you each time, we have waited for you your entire lives, but today we're going to prove it to you because we give our messenger so much to give you beforehand. So we really work him out because we want you to know how important you are in the world now. That's why we call this particular session it's time for your abundance. Many of you have not recognized that as your world has been moving through changes, you haven't recognized your importance and owned who you are. And so we thought we would tell our messenger the same thing because it's time for all of you to move to the next level of who you're meant to become. As we've always said, there is an integrity to your physical life experience. Each of you come into the world with something you're meant to do. And when you find it, you start to live the lives you're meant to have and you start to experience the abundance. But you also choose times to come into the world where it's a little difficult for you to do that. It's a little challenging. And then you're not understanding what's happening in your world and why it looks different than it did any other time in your history. And we said, because you wanted to be here because you're that important, because you have something that was so valuable that it was going to make a difference and it's going to change your world forever. And this is what we've given you. But it's hard to believe that. Our messenger couldn't even believe it, even though he's healed everything that you guys go through. He couldn't even accept that. So, what we did last night, because again, we're always ahead of you, and we want you to understand how things are changing. Nothing is accidental. Your life is not accidental. We gave you that yesterday because we wanted you to understand all the things that you've been moving through. You think something's going wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. We don't want you to panic because if that ruins what we want you to accomplish, because you're here to create something great, and that's within you. So, what we had him do last night, we said, just pick a few messages and put them into your artificial intelligence and let's see what comes out. But then we told him to do the best one. Go back to the very first message that we had given him, and that was on February 19th of 1989, and this will start from 2008. Put all those messages in, and what does it say? It said, oh, well, this is a plan for personal development and ascension for an individual and for the planet. That's what it said. And they said it was remarkable what he had done. He had spent 36 years putting this work together. And he didn't know he had done it. Didn't even appreciate it. And it's because no one else understood it either and couldn't figure it out. No one who knew him, not even his family. So we said, let's give him some proof because there are energetic connections in your world that some of you will understand. And so the reason we kept talking about Carl Jung is because we wanted you each to understand that you come into the world and certain people will develop abilities and skills to help the rest of you. And our messenger was one of those, even though he resisted it, as you've probably resisted where you have. But that's okay because, as we've said, the thing that you fear the most is your gift. And each of you are being pushed at this moment because of the energies that are happening in your world, because of this full moon, which none of you have experienced and you'll never have it again. And so this is the time to take advantage of it, which is why we're doing this today. And then we also gave him messages for tomorrow, you'll see, because we've given him everything in advance. And that doesn't seem to make sense because you are locked in linear time and we are not, which is why we can answer all of your questions. And we've said that we have given him an encyclopedia of information for all of you. And if any of you could have used it, you would have changed your lives and your world. But the only difference was, the only difficulty was he didn't believe it and he didn't give you all of it. But he had the proof of it now because, see, that's what you all want is proof. So we've gotten it now. We gave him the proof last night and you'll all see it because we told him to send it out when he sends out the replay. because you all need something tangible in front of you before you can believe. This is the only reason that your lives haven't changed, and it's the only reason that your world is still in the condition that it is, because there's no reason for it to have done that, which we also said a long time ago. And then we will say now, and you can go and find this because we have given you everything so you would understand the current conditions that you're experiencing in your life or seeing in your world. And if you go to our website and just search for Barbenheimer, you'll have fun with that because you'll see that several years ago we said you're going to be moving through this. But again, we had our messenger write about all of it and put it on his website because we want you all to have understanding. You move through times in your world where you have changes in your civilization. And that's what you're experiencing now. And we said the United States would lead the way, which is why it's been so uh, chaotic. That's how it feels to you, but we're not seeing that. And we're thinking, we said it's restructuring, and it's restructuring for a great reason so that you can have a much better world. It doesn't look that way to you. We understand because that's why you're here. But you just haven't done it yet. Our messenger hasn't done it, but now we can all do it. See, that's how it works. And we've laid it out so that you could understand. And people said, someone said the other day, well, Wilhelm must not have worked for you very well talking to our messenger because he didn't have very many people on his YouTube channel watching his videos. We said, no, that was intentional. He didn't want anybody finding him like many of you have done. But see, that's over today because now we laid out how this was the day that it was meant to happen. And we had him find something, and we're going to have more of you listen to it because it'll help you. A lot of times we say we've given you this and we've said that, and you go, why do you say that all the time? It's because it takes a while for you to move through your barriers, and the barriers are always in your thinking. So then when you hear it again, it makes sense and you can absorb it, and then you start to live the life you're supposed to have. Because all of you are supposed to be have these wonderful lives. There's no one who was born without the ability to achieve that. You just didn't have a way to accomplish it, but now we've given you a way. And it was so challenging for our messenger to even say that until he had the proof. We're saying this because many of you now are sitting at places in your life where you're wondering why certain things haven't happened. That's what you're thinking. And you're thinking, oh no, what's going on? And we're saying it's the perfect time. It's the perfect time for you to move now and start doing what you came to do. The only thing that holds any of you back is fear. That's all. Fear of yourself and fear of that unknown, going out there and seeing what's going to happen. But the greatest fear is of yourselves. That was our messengers because he didn't know. Sat for 36 years and had no clue that he had put together a complete philosophy. And that philosophy says that all humans who come into the world have a mission, have something to do. It's a purpose. It's within them. All they have to do is develop it. And the only reason they don't develop it is because they've been taught something else and they keep passing it on from generation to generation. And if you can change that, then you live a great life that you have now. And then you create the future world that you all want to see. And then you go off into your next transition with a wonderful legacy, knowing that you've made a difference in the world and you have the ability to do that, and we've told you that, and now you'll be able to read it all. That's what we have given you, and we wanted to do this today because you see, it's time for each of you to be very definite and make that decision about who you are or who you want to become, because you're always in that process, as we've said. But we needed our messenger to do it today because he has all these other people asking him, what is this work about? Who is it for? Why is it happening? It's because your world is moving through a great transition, and more of you needed help to understand who you were and to understand how brilliant you were. And our messenger spent 36 years of his life writing it all down to give it to you. That's why we've done it. And so now we're going to do more because we would like to get as many questions as we can because we felt so many of them coming in, and we'd like to spend more time on that.
Okay, so we had many questions submitted, and so they take priority. We'll be answering those questions first. If you have a question, feel free to submit the question right in the chat. I'll read it. And I will ask it on your behalf after we get through the our initial round of questions that were pre-submitted. Okay, here we go. I gave my all to a company for 3.5 years as a contractor, believing their repeated promises to convert me to full time. Instead, without explanation, they chose not to renew my contract at the end of December. Now, as an older woman, I have to navigate the chaotic US job market and start over. What was the lesson in this experience? How can I keep fear from taking over? And what steps can I take to find the path of abundance? Many blessings and thank you.
The message that we gave you in 2008 on this day was that we want you to start seeing yourself in a new way. See, that's it. Because they were helping you, and you made the decision that you were too old. And that's the false decision. And we first like for you to release that one, see, because we can't get anywhere until you let go of that. Because the integrity, we're talking about this for all of you, the integrity of your physical life experience means that you were moved out of that job because there's another place for you to go where you can be more helpful to giving information and experience to others who will come later. That's why you've been moved there, because you were a little too stubborn to do it or to recognize the value that you've had. And now you're going to start to see it because you know that you've dedicated, as you said, to this other place, this other company. You've moved to the place in your life now where you're meant to dedicate it to yourself. It'll take a while for you to change your perception about yourself, but we know you can do it. Thank you.
I work hard. I try everything I can to make ends meet, and yet when my rent is due, I still come up short. It feels like no matter what I do, I'm always teetering between having just enough and not having it at all. I'm exhausted from living in survival mode. I fought so hard to break the cycle, but nothing seems to last. I don't know how much more I could take. What do I do?
You're this is why you're here. This is why we're doing this today, because so many of you are at that place. And this is why you're the ones that we're speaking to, because you've given yourself away for so long that the worth and value that is within you hasn't been manifested. Now, the reason that you've done that is that you didn't do the thing that you felt you were meant to do in this world, the thing that you loved that wasn't developed. However, the world is taking a different shift, and as we said, you're being restructured, all of you. So it makes perfect sense that you're at this place where you're questioning now what's next, and we just want you to see that there is this next that you are moving to. You have not, and we want you. And you said the first thing, you've worked so hard. You haven't appreciated that. That worth and value hasn't been recognized by you, and that's why the universe is not giving you the stuff that you should have. And this is why we gave you the message today as well, to show you that you all move on this path. You're just on that in this path. And we're going to say you're not giving up, first of all, because we know what's within you. And this is why in our work, this is why we've done it in the way we have, where you do something every day. You never let go. Because the only thing that happens is you give up. And the thing that you give up on is what you really wanted to do. All of you. Because it gets talked out of you. But that's the purpose of your life, you see, is to move through those limitations. Thank you.
Hi, Wilhelm. Can you provide a message for me at this moment?
Yes, we're so glad you asked because you're wondering why you're here. And we're saying your existence is enough. That's all. That's all we wanted to say. And that's why you asked the question, because other people needed to see that. Because some of you are looking at yourselves in your lives and you're thinking, well, wait a minute, I don't have anything that's really magnificent that I'm doing, or I haven't done very much, or whatever it is. And so you asked a perfect question. We just want you to appreciate your existence. That's enormous. Just sit around and love yourself all day. That will help your world so much and you. Thank you.
I really long to know who I am, and it has become so unbearable because, like, once I finally get that right answer, everything else in my life will fall into place. Thank you for the work you're doing and sharing, and stay blessed.
You have all the right answers already, and this is why we put out today. We're sharing that we called it Wilhelm's Ascension Guide, and in there, the messages from when our messenger started in on in February of 1989. And then we had some questions. We have things in there. And when you go through them, you're going to see that you're not lost. You're going to see that everything you've been doing has been leading you to now. We did it in that way because, see, what happens is you think that you should have done it at this point in your life, or that should have happened, or you had this particular time where you thought it was it. It's never necessarily that. It's it when you have found the place where you feel fulfilled. And many of you are still on that journey, and that's okay. We don't want you to judge that. And we want you to do exactly the opposite, because what happens is you begin judging yourself because you're not there. And this is a dynamic period. So you're each being moved through your ascension journey. And that's always challenging, no matter when you might live, but it's really challenging during this restructuring. So you are in the right place. We just want you to just believe that it's going to start opening up, and we want you to you'll see, because we're going to have our messenger send it out in the email, and you'll see it in there, and we want you to just work with that and just do it for a day. You'll see that things will start to come. It's all about your consciousness. You see, everything that we have given you is about this universal consciousness that you all have. And but when you tap into it, you start to understand your place and where you belong. And that's what we wanted you to have. Thank you.
I feel overwhelmed when I consider my unlimited potential
Mm.
and that there are so many things that I can do. I don't know where to begin. Do you have some advice?
Yes, and we love that so much. You're all going to come in with different ways of being, let's call it, and many of you you're all multidimensional, but those things aren't going to come up for each of you. But for some of you, it starts to come up, and especially during this time because of the energetic changes of your world. And so you'll become overwhelmed because there's so much there. That's great, but what we would like for you to do is do the one thing. Just do the one thing that's in front of you now that you feel the most passion about, that feels like it's speaking to your heart. Just start with that, because then you'll start to develop this sense of fulfillment. And now you're no longer holding yourself back, you see, because that's what you all do. And that's a little bit of why you might sometimes, many of you have done this too, you will overwhelm yourself intentionally, because then it's so much I can't do anything. And then you procrastinate and wonder why. You see? So we just want you to find the thing that you love and start with that. Everything else will come into place. And if all the things you're meant to do are meant to be done, then they'll come about at the right time. Just start with the one thing. Thank you.
Should I write songs for money now as work for hire, or should I focus on creating them as part of an archival, mystic historical record? Since I don't have any heirs at the moment, who should I leave my creations to?
That's the perfect question. We loved it so much. First of all, you're asking, should you charge money? And this is what you're all moving through now. And this is why we've given you so much of this. And our messenger, he's done it as well. So it's so great because, see, you don't put the value on your talent, the things that come naturally. And so many of you feel guilty for accepting money. This is why we've said this particular time in your world is about a wealth and income redistribution. And those of you who have not allowed yourself to become wealthy because you haven't appreciated the particular gifts that you came to the world to offer, you see, that's where the shift needs to happen. And so that question about should you is yes, you should, because it's value, it's talent. And who you're leaving it to, you're leaving it to humankind. That's what you're doing. You're there's some of you don't have heirs or any of that, but your work is going to be around forever. You live in a world now where you have all these digital technologies, so everything will be around. That's who you're leaving it to. But the first thing we want you to do is to honor yourself. We want you to really appreciate your talent because you haven't really completely done that yet. Thank you.
What is the best way to connect with my past lives? Is there a way to know how many lifetimes that I've had on Earth, or if I've lived on another planet, star, or galaxy? How can I tell where my soul has been? I'm very curious.
You have to experiment. You have to investigate. Some of you, when we talk about lives. Many of you have trouble with this, but we want you to think of it this way. This will help all of you, and especially at this time in your world. We only speak about consciousness. You see, your consciousness has always existed, and this is why you see when people live, they leave their physical bodies. Why you say they made their transition? Well, where did they transition to? They transition to another level of their consciousness. You see, and their understanding wherever they decided to go. Now, you each will do different things because you do have free will that starts to become exposed to you as you live. So, you have expressed some really wonderful things. So, we would like for you to investigate. And what will happen is it'll come about in your meditation, in your times of quiet, when you're having the conversation with yourself. That's when you start to make the connection. Connecting to your guides or your higher self is just you deciding that you can. Now, we're saying this because if you hold the belief that it is there and that eventually it will come about, then it will. When our messenger began, even with the idea of wanting to contact us, just because he heard about automatic writing, nothing happened for a few days. And then all of a sudden, he feels like wow, I'm speaking to someone what is going on? You all have that, but you might not trust it. And that's the place where you start to use mindfulness to come into that place of trusting it. And so then if you are to make that connection, many of you will, because you have different life paths, and those of you who are light workers or star seeds, you will do that. And so then you will start making those connections to other worlds or other planets or galaxies or whatever it might be for you if it's part of your plan. So we just want you to give yourself permission to investigate what's there, and the right thing, trusting the integrity of your life experience, the right thing will show up. Thank you.
What steps can I take for my guide or guides to identify themselves?
Stop telling them that they're not there. Because you're hearing them. You couldn't have asked that question, but you're just not trusting it, and you just haven't interpreted what they're saying. Because they're saying, yes, we're here, but you're just not listening, and you're just not interpreting it. So we want you to do something else. We want you to start doing a little meditation and just ask them what they're trying to say. That's all. And just see what happens and practice that for several days. Don't try to do anything. Just sit with it and whatever you might do in terms of meditation or times of sitting, being quiet, and just say, what are you trying to tell me? And we really want you to ask in that way. And it'll be surprising when you come back and tell us. So thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, I keep feeling like I have to do something to receive abundance. I just can't believe that it could come to me without effort or struggle. This belief seems deeply ingrained in me. How can I best let this go?
We could thank you so much. That was the best question because that's what we wanted all of you to do today, including our messenger. You have ingrained beliefs about money. That's all. And so you have to move through them. And money, like everything else, is energy. Now let's talk about this because it's consciousness. We've said this is a generational shift that you're all moving through. And so you have carried ideas from your ancestors, from all those who came before, who are part of your lineage. Again, you don't even have to remember those people or know who they are. It's in the ethers, so to speak, because it carries on. It's a part of consciousness. And then you also have a collective consciousness where you all put in different ideas. So, what we said this time in your world, while you're moving through this restructuring, is that you've become off balance. You think some people should have all the money. This is why you have billionaires running around and holding everything, and some other people are starving. And we said, wouldn't you want to change that? And the way you change it is in your consciousness. And that means with each of you owning who you are and moving to another place of ownership, which is an energetic shift that starts the flow of abundance coming to you. And this is exactly why we've created what we have, is to get more of you to do it. Because see, we've told you before, and we had our messenger find this, and it's on his site now, and he put up another title. He says, how politics healed me or something like that he called it. We don't remember, but it was from a session we gave you 3 years ago, and if you listen to it, it's exactly what's moving on happening in your world today. But the good news now is that you have a chance to change it. We were trying to warn you then, but now you can change it because you're in a different place. So, we don't want you to beat yourself up because you're finding that's what you've been moving through. It's a cycle. But now you have the opportunity to change the cycle because the energies of the world have changed, and you have the ability to use your consciousness in a way that will cause it to change for you because there's only limitations that have been in your thinking, and you can remove them. Thank you.
How can I break free from stagnation?
Oh, we love that so much. First of all, you just did it. Just from that acknowledgement, your courage, your bravery in saying that, because most of you will not acknowledge that you're stuck, that you're in this place where you don't know where to go or what to do. And you would, and many of you, especially during this time, you would be feeling that because of the pressures. And that's what we're going to call it, because that's what it's felt like, this pressure that I'm meant to do something, and you are. But what we want you to start doing is letting go of the restrictions about finding the one thing you want to do. You see, because that procrastination, that stagnation, is that you've been talked out of, and it could have started in your childhood, because as we've said, you all get programmed before birth, but really in your younger years. And so sometimes what happens is you start expressing things that you want to do, and then those others around you who say, no, don't do that, that you can't be that person, you can't. And then you go through your life keep reinforcing those ideas and those beliefs, and so you get completely off track, and you don't own the gifts that you were given to develop at in your life. And then you end up at a place later in your life where you think you're experiencing stagnation, where you're just experiencing the results of prior programming. That's all, and you can change it. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, am I on the right track with helping others with addiction and discovering their true selves? What suggestions do you have for my path? Thank you.
To be as honest as you are. Yes, you. First of all, yes, we love giving you confirmation, because that's what we really do, is give you all confirmation, because the only thing that happens is you doubt yourselves, because you'll get clear guidance as to what your thing is to do, and then the doubt comes in, that self-doubt. We've talked about that, and that's okay, because you're always going to have it, because the thing that you're doing is outside of your current known reality or your comfort zone. And so now you're moving that, so you're going to have the doubt. Yes, you're meant to do it. So you're going to start to relate yourself to why you're doing this, because see, you're doing it because of your own experience. And we need you to become more honest about your experience, because that's going to help the people that you're working with far more than you kind of withholding. We've given you all something too. We don't think that's on the site now, but it says, we said stop being so selfish. Many of you wondered what we were saying, and that is that you have developed things or come to understand things, but then you also hold this kind of shame or embarrassment about what you've done, and then the way that you could help others is not as full as it could be. And so we just want you to start to own more of that. But first of all, yes, you're doing exactly the right thing. And it's what's needed. It's what's needed in your world right now, because many of you are going through things that, especially, your mental health, let's say, that you think something's going on. So the more of you who can give reassurance, the better. And so then you might go to addictions because of that. And so you're doing the great thing, and we love that so much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you all for your questions so far, and we still got plenty more to go. I'm just saying that and there is still more room for some more questions. I will let you all know when we are at capacity for questions. So as long as I haven't given the warning sign, you're free to ask your questions. Okay, here we go. I'm about to re-enter the matrix, or the grid of a human perspective and reality that I left over a decade ago, and it doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing it for financial reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's going backwards for me, and I'm resistant. I'm feeling and hoping that something will come up, a direction to go that is better than this one. Your awareness and guidance is appreciated in this matter.
First of all, we want you to stop hoping. Because we know something good is going to come from it. None of you are sent anywhere accidentally. You just have to figure out why. That's all. There's a reason for it, and it's a part of your life journey. And so you're being placed there. We want you to think of it in a new way because you're feeling like you have to do this because of your current financial condition, but that was part of the life plan as well. Many of you use your finances in that way that feels like something you're being forced to do something, but you're being directed many times as well, and that's exactly what we feel for you. And so there's going to be something that comes up in this thing that you think you're going back. You're not going. You can none of you can ever go back. You just think that at times. It just feels that way. But no, as you go back, as you think of it, you're going to be introduced to something that's going to give you a new awareness of something you're going to start to create that's going to be so much better than what you could have ever imagined. That's the kind of energy that's in your world right now, and that's why you're having that awareness now. We just need you to change your perception about yourself and what's happening. Nothing's going wrong. You're being moved to a more abundant place for you. Thank you.
What can we best do for the benefit as much as possible from this full moon?
Love yourself. That's all. If there were one thing that we could say that would be the most powerful thing any of you could do, it would be that. And we also know how challenging it is, especially at this time, and how challenging it has been at other times in your lives. But see, this is the time where you're meant to reverse that, which is why we call this session today what we did, because we want you each to start to understand that worth and of value that you've been accumulating to reach this time in your world so that you could help it become this great new world because you have it within you. Thank you.
What is for my highest good right now?
You asking that question. Because, see, when you ask that question, you're going to start to get answers. Thank you so much for doing that. We want more of you to do that. And so, we'll give you some fun things too, because many of you get embarrassed by talking in that way or speaking or asking questions and thinking somehow am I going to get an answer. We want you to break that. And so when you're alone, start asking it out loud. Just say it and see what starts to happen. You start to make connections to information that you previously had blocked off. And you can all do that and make it fun. Because what happens when you move through really intense times in your lives or in the world, as you're all experiencing now, you start to shut down and you start give yourselves a kind of expression because the fear starts to take over. Even though you may not be in that kind of fear yourself, you feel the energy of the collective fear. And those are the messages that we have given you. And for all of you, we would love for you to find our messages on October 19th. And you can see that we wanted you all to understand what was happening in your world because of that. And so it would be affecting all of you. So now is the time to shift all of that. So for you each to find that joy within you to start to shift your lives and do what you came to do. Thank you.
What do you think about people saying that no one has free will in this reality? To me, that feels quite manipulative, for example, trying to control how others behave towards us.
Thank you. Because none of you know. How can someone tell you what anyone has? None of you know. All we do is we give you questions, you see, because we know that you have more consciousness than anyone else. That's because you exist now. Please get that concept. Anyone who has existed, 5 years ago, they wouldn't have as much consciousness as you because it wasn't available. And so now you keep accumulating more and you keep moving to higher states of understanding of who you are. And that's what you're doing now, all of you. And so that's just so wonderful to think about where am I going? You're going into the next version of yourselves. You all are. So, and we would love a follow up on that one too. So thank you.
When I ask for guidance and messages, I'm not receiving any answers. Why am I not receiving any answers from my guides or my higher self?
Because you convinced yourself a long time ago that you couldn't. That's all. And we just want you to reverse that. And there's something within you that says you should not do this. It could have been programmed into you that you couldn't do because we can feel that you want to. You want to know that there's that existence and it's there. So we just need you to forgive yourself for accepting an idea that you were incapable. And so we want you to begin there first. And as you start doing that, then you're going to set up dedicated times where you're going to give yourself time to be with just you and allow things to come about that you may not understand or know, but just holding the idea that maybe something else is there, just accomplishing that, and more will start to come about. You'll see. None of you are lost. Not you all have consciousness and things you're meant to develop. You'll just do them in different ways. And what we throw out are just different techniques and ideas to get you to find the one that works for you. That's all. So thank you.
I have so much chatter in the mind. I now feel like I have a mental health condition. It
Hmm.
might be ADHD.
Hmm.
What is this about?
You're awakening, and it could be, and you will get it checked, and that's okay because you would be awakening to that at this time. And we've spoken about this before. Those of you who are neurodiverse, that's a great thing because now you're bringing in something different. But what happens initially is that you'll fear it because you've been judged, you've been told that it's something wrong, and so we're so interesting because you're looking at we're talking about the United States so much, and or the richest person in the world is neurodiverse, and you don't think anything's wrong with that. But when it comes to yourself, you have the stigma because it's been programmed into you. So you are awakening to something. And so we would love for you to find out, to explore. There are plenty of tests that you can do to find out if it has that. We told you, our messenger, we didn't allow him to know he had it until he was 70 years old because it would have messed up what we were giving him if he had known before. And there was a reason for you as well. And so now we want you to investigate that to find out if that is indeed the diagnosis. But we do feel that you're correct because you're also very intuitive, and that's what you're going to discover as well. So we want you to do that first, and then we would also like you to do this, which would be fun, is to take the personality test, the Myers-Briggs personality test, because you'll get another clue as well from that. So you have homework now. Thank you so much.
I've gone through the program, but I still feel stuck in some old patterns. Is this just a matter of time?
Yes, it is. Thank you for that. Um, uh, this is okay. What we've done is we've given our messenger so much, and this is why we've had him lay out so much of it so you can see. It was just kind of unbelievable to him as well how much there is. And he only put it in a portion. And so what we said, this is why we said today, you're changing everything. And he knows it. He's already doing it because he had to explain all of this because he didn't understand it. He didn't even understand the breadth of the depth of the work that we had given him, just like none of you do. So yes, you're going to feel stuck because you haven't gotten through everything yet. We haven't given you, he hasn't given you all the information, which is what he's doing now. And what he told him, and let's go back. And when we first began, we want you all to understand this. We want none of you to judge yourselves for what you have not done yet or what you haven't created because sometimes it becomes challenging for you to believe what you can do. So be gentle with yourself. And so in 2021, when he first started and he was so shocked at the results that he was receiving, he stopped. He held himself back. He's talked about it. This is not new. We're not making this up. You can hear many things where he said it. And so now we said, so this is why we pulled out everything because we wanted him to see how much more there was there. How could he hope to justify how he's moved through everything in his life and healed everything and he's 74? He couldn't justify that unless he's giving you more stuff. So that's what's happening. And then also, we want all of you to know because you give up too quickly. So we told him you all will own this forever because you keep coming back and you move through it and you'll use it and you get more because you're always going to keep evolving as long as you're in physical form. And so that's why we want you to have it. We've made sure that this is something that works, that you don't, that's why we had him change the name a while ago to your last development program because you keep doing things that don't give you the results. We've connected you to the spark of eternity that's within you. That's why it works. So thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to share that we are now at capacity with questions, and I have put that little alert in the chat, and we will be answering questions that came in all the way before that message. So thank you everyone who have submitted your questions. And if you hadn't had a chance to ask yours today, that's a-okay. Just bring your question to the next session. So continuing on. I know what I want. I receive inspired ideas that excite me, and I want to shift from thinking that I need to do things that I don't like or want to, in order to do what I really want to do. I still feel like that I have some things that need to happen a certain way or in a certain order. I feel that way, but I know it's not actually true. This is a limiting belief that I have. I have been frustrated to not be up to speed with myself for what feels like so long. How can I shift this? And I've been moving slowly, and I really want to flip the switch. So how do I flow high?
That's the message that we gave you guys in 2008. We wanted you to see that you make up things about what it should be, when you should get there, and how it should get done, and none of you know that because it's something that develops as you move along. But then when it doesn't happen quite in the way that you think it should, then you start to create this judgment that something's wrong, and you start there's a spiral that start begins to happen. You're in the right place and you're moving to that new place of what you want to do. You just have to now start giving yourself permission to do that thing. That's all. And so it's a matter of just reprogramming everything. That's where you all are basically, and you're being all moved to that place, and the energies are like really causing it to come out, really illuminating it today, as a matter of fact. So that's what's happening for all of you. But yeah, just we just want you to start. We want you to first do this. Find, and this is going to take a while. We want you to sit with yourself and remember that thing that you knew you were going to do in this world, in your life. We want you to just sit and find it. And we want you to pay attention to how long it takes you to find it, and if you find it. But that's where you are now, and that's why you asked that particular question. Thank you.
You said that we came into this world with mission and purpose.
Mm.
What is mine? How do I find it? I'm 60 to 75% sure of what it is, but there is still doubt, and I struggle with abundance.
Well, that's why, because you're 60 or 75% sure. And so no, you're moving in the right direction because it's about what do you hear? It's self-acceptance. We've said to all of you, and we've said it in so many different ways. Self-acceptance is your success. When you get to that place, that's when everything comes about. And sometimes you don't get there right away because of what that particular journey you've accepted. Our messenger couldn't accept all of this until now, until today, because it was building something new. Well, you're all building something new, and that also is the challenge. But just know that you're in that place now of developing the thing that you are meant to do, that you were brought to do, and that's in front of you. And we're saying this because the energy will start to get you to see it. This is why we've given you the work that we've had our messenger put out in the last several days, last several weeks, actually, where we give you little questions because we just want to stimulate your thinking because that's all that has to happen because we know for all of you that you have it's just within you and it just has to be carved out. This is why we talk about neuroscience so much because we want you to understand your brain function and how it has you can use it to then release to find those places and find that purpose because you all say things like, oh, I don't have a purpose. You do. It's just been blocked off. That's all. Thank you.
I've been dealing with a stressful situation with my neighbor, who is a man. I feel discriminated against, not just because I'm Asian, but also due to sexism. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like I'm being bullied, nitpicked, almost like I'm dealing with a critical mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Am I sensing this correctly? And also, I feel like everything in my life is slipping away, like water draining through a strainer. My future plans seem to be unraveling. 2 days ago, something even happened to me physically that made me think that my energy was being completely drained.
Mm.
But now I'm wondering, could it be something else?
Absolutely something else. And what is happening? You've been given those things, and that's why you were given the neighbor. You are meant, you're trying to become more empowered. That's why things were slipping away, and you weren't becoming empowered because you weren't accepting yourself fully. And you hadn't worked through the other things, those generational things that you're still holding on to, which are the thoughts and beliefs and ideologies that no longer serve you. And so that's why all of these things are coming up for you at this opportune time. We're saying that because when you start to move through them, you'll see the other side where you'll have the awareness and the clarity of why you had these situations. But we want to say with your neighbors, so we want you to love him. We want you to love him more. We want you to see beyond that and to know that his actions are have nothing to do with you. In the sense that they're not being caused by you. Now you attracted them because you knew they were going to cause you to become more empowered and own yourself a little bit more. But then the other part you're going to do, you're a loving person. And so you're going to look at him now and also know that the only reason he's acting that way is that he doesn't love himself. And he's got this damage that he hasn't figured out yet. And you can see beyond it. So now you get a win in both ways. Thank you.
Right now, I have a very strong headache. It's even hard to think. Do you
Mhm.
have any quick suggestions for me? Thank you.
Yes, we're going to first of all send you some energy because we know it's a congestion that's in the middle of your head, and we're going to start to send it through so you can start to release it, and you're resisting coming into the new version of yourself. And the energies of this full moon have done that for you, and it's bringing it up to the fore. So we're glad that you've mentioned it. And now we'd like for you to release your shoulders, however. And so when you do that, you'll start to see that there's a little more of the tension that starts to leave. And then as you start to allow yourself to be there, not run, just let it stay there and just let that go a little bit more. And then well, we just want you to ask yourself why you've been resisting who you are. And we just want you to say, okay, I'm going to start forgiving and I'm going to start loving myself a lot more. And these will start to leave. And then I'll know why I had them. And then I'll also understand how powerful I am. Thank you.
Can you describe for us in emotional terms what a healthy, natural exchange of money for services, skills, experience, whatever it might be, is like from your perspective?
Most times you won't know because, see, it's always going to shift. You've each You've all attached yourselves. This is why when we first began, we gave you a message about power, money, love, power, and control. You form certain ideas within yourselves and within your society about beliefs around money, and it's energetic, you see. And so you are not having the kind of feeling of certainty because of the old programming. That's all. Because when you start to honor who you are, there's no amount of money that could measure up. And then you start attracting more. The way that that happens, you start allowing it to come to you because you're no longer putting up the resistance. Now, the resistance, however, is in your old thinking, and we don't want you to judge yourself. None of you, because those things are just programmed into you. You have a life to move through the prior programming, and so that's what you're doing. And so, but we also when we feel um, you're you're the judgment that you have on yourself because you haven't gotten to that place yet, and that's okay because you're coming to the place of honoring the work that you came and your art because that's how it feels to you and putting the value on that. And that's what we want more of you to understand. That's a value in this world. We've get all the work that we have given you is to bring you to this understanding that the value and worth that you each have is not about all the physical stuff. It's about who you are. It's about your soul. And that's what many of you are doing. It's coming to understand now. Thank you.
What can we say or do in the moment when we feel excited about something, but then old memories of discouragement, control, dependency, or manipulation creep in? How can we shift in that instant and stay open to the excitement instead of letting the past pull us back?
Thank you so much for that. And we're so glad that you mentioned that because most of you will bypass that feeling and that experience, and you did not. And so, great. We're glad that you're noticing it. And so, stop judging yourself for noticing it, first of all, because we also felt that. Let go of it, because now you're getting in touch with the blockages that have been there. And that's a great thing. And so, we want you to celebrate the fact that you notice. So, then when you have that notice, those moments when you're noticing, we want you to sit down and write, because we want you to ask the question, why is that there? Why do I have this feeling about that particular thing? Why would I allow myself to whatever it might be? We want you to just sit and write. You're going to get some more. You're going to get some awareness that's going to come through, and that's where you're going to get. You're going to have so much fun with this because you're going to understand so much more about yourself, and now you've just also helped so many others. Thank you.
Is it possible to put healing energy into my art? My favorite thing to do at the moment is to paint small cards, and I love spreading healing energy.
First of all, you have to take away the word. Is it the idea? Is it possible? Of course, it's possible, because what happens is it's all energy. When you're creating it, you're loving it, and so the love has already gone into it. It's there. And so, who's going to find it and appreciate it is going to experience that love. So, we want you to we want you to let go of the idea that you're not this loving person, that you don't have this, and that there's something else that you need to do to express that love. You're doing it in the art. And but we're glad you asked the question, because we want you to reverse your thinking about the value of who you are and the value of your art. Thank you.
What would be the easiest and most practical way to open up your third eye?
The easiest way is to know that you can do it. You have to accept the belief, first of all. And then there are many different techniques that you can do, but start with just meditating. And so you can start to do certain things that might give you a little sense of it, focusing on seeing this white light right in the middle of your head, or in the middle of your forehead, or coming down, or being, or something going down your spine, whatever it might be. What happens is you start to then come into a more relaxed state. That's when your third eye starts to open for you, because you start to experience different parts of yourself, your higher self. It's just a dimension, and it's just consciousness. That's all. And so you can all do it. It's just how far you want to go, and all of that. And not everyone will develop the ability. We don't want any of you to think that something's wrong because you're not looking at that or developing that ability. You don't all come in to do the same tasks, let's say. And so, but you asked the question because it is something that you're developing. And so, and we would also like you to stimulate your understanding by looking for videos about that process, how others have done it. Just start researching some of those videos, because you see, you ask the question, you're all led places that sometimes you get a little afraid of, investigating, but we want you to investigate it, because the more of you who allow yourself to go to that greater understanding and knowing that you have access to higher consciousness, the better. So please do it. Thank you.
I've been trying to heal my body for 3+ years now, and although I've been feeling better in my mind, I have not seen any changes in my body. Is there some type of resistance to healing that I am unaware of?
Yes. You're going back and forth, and you're doing it all the time. You've been doing it for a long time. So you will say, "Yes, I can heal." And you've been doing it, you've been using your mind a lot to do that. And then you go back to, "No, I can't do it." And so there's this seesaw going on, It's a cycle that you've created. And so we don't want you to beat yourself up, because you've been given this to move through it and to understand. There's one thing that we will give your messenger. He loves Dr. John Sarno, and he wrote something called The Divided Mind, because see, he had worked with he had worked with mind body healing, and even though he was a doctor, because he understood it. And so, but then what he discovered was some people would get to the place where they could do it to a certain degree, but then they would let the old ideas come back. And so he talked about it. So that book would probably help you as well to understand it. But first of all, we want you to give up um, the judgment that you have, because you have done really well, because you've healed so many things, because those healings occurred as you started accepting more of yourself. And you can even go back and pinpoint how that occurred. And so we want you to just remember that and keep doing it. That's all. So thank you.
And we have arrived at the final question of the session. How best do I deprogram the false beliefs that conditioned my behaviors?
Daily. That's it. We thank you for that. Well, and if we could give any of you the best advice, just know that you can do it. But it just has to be your effort, as we call it, your willingness, and to take the steps in doing it because it's daily. You have been programmed. Now, we can't tell you measurements of how deep that could be for each of you. It depends on your life path, but you've all done it, let's say. And so you start to enjoy it. Say, I'm going to move through something. What our messenger would do in the beginning, he was going through so much stuff, and then he didn't want to get up most days. But then it got to a place where it says, "Oh wow, I know I went through a whole bunch of stuff. Now I know it's going to be better because I'll sit and meditate and write, and I'll get more answers." And that's what you're going to do. That's all. Because you've done so much already, but it's just about allowing it to come about, and that's for all of you. That's for all of you at this time. That's where you've ended up in your lives. Is this place where you're going to start to take the next step and develop and own the gifts that you came to bring to the world? Because see, we know that it's all of you. You just don't know that all the time. So, but we do. Thank you.
And we are complete with questions.
We are so pleased you're all here, and you have no idea how powerful this was for you and for your world. See, because there's so many people on this day, on this particular full moon, who are doing something similar, and that's the energy that's going into your world. We're saying this now because you won't see that right away, but it'll be out there. It takes a while for you to manifest what you put out in thought and deed and will, you see, and that's what's going to happen. So you have done a wonderful job. We will send this all to you, and along with the little goodies our messenger put together, because we want you to know you now have the opportunity to create the life you want to have and to change your world, and you might start to believe it now. Thank you so much.